This is Travis Lindsay. We're here at the Tyler Internal Medical Clinic in Tyler. And today I have the distinct pleasure and honor to speak and interview with Neena Peden, who is going to share a story today that I think is nothing short of a miracle. And we're just honored again to be a part of it. And Neena, again, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
This is probably difficult for both of us to get through, but we'll stumble through it somehow. But basically, I guess start by telling us, about your son and some things that were going on in his life that kind of are shaping the story that we're going to talk about.
Okay. Well, we noticed when Alex was very, very young that he had some difficulties. We weren't really sure what was wrong. He, we just knew that something wasn't quite right. And growing up, he was just uncoordinated. We just thought he was an uncoordinated child. And we never really had a diagnosis for Alex. And as he grew up, he just grew up different and uncoordinated. And we met Dr. Bradley and was introduced to Max International and Max One. And he was put on this product, and it really significantly made a difference in his life.
Now, and he was originally introduced to Max GXL, correct?
He was
Okay.
Max GXL about a year and a half ago, and he some of the difficulties he had, he couldn't hold his hand steady as his disorder progressed. He couldn't put a key in a door. His hands would shake. They were so unsteady. When he would go through a buffet line, he couldn't hold his plate and scoop food onto his plate. He would miss his plate. He couldn't walk down the hallway of here at Tima without running into a wall. He had scoliosis. That was not the disorder he was being seen for, of course, but he he went through a series of tests, and he he just had several problems and issues, and the doctors just were at their wits' ends to know how to help him. And he just stumbled all the time. He couldn't go upstairs without help. He couldn't go downstairs without help. He couldn't hit a ball with a baseball bat. All he really wanted to do was play baseball. He tried to play football. He couldn't kick a ball. Those were just a lot of the difficulties. He couldn't write very well. His handwriting was illegible. He couldn't grip a pencil with his hand for very long without it hurting and his hands cramping. He was very frustrated. Um, he was just in turmoil,
Yeah.
really.
Was there a specific age that, as a parent, you started really looking into help? And again, without mentioning a disease here, as we can't do, but was there a
Mhm.
certain age that you realized, okay, we need to start taking some sort of action and see what's going on?
As he was seeing his doctor, um, he went to get an MRI. They were afraid he may have had a tumor at the base of his brain when he was about 16 or 17. He did not. They did a lot of research to try to figure out what was wrong with him, and it really, Dr. Bradley, he they went to put a little cup on his finger to try to get his pulse one day, and he couldn't hold his finger steady, and Dr. Bradley just said, this is not right. There's something really wrong. We've got to figure out what's wrong. And he was about 16. He said, you've got to go to see a neurologist. And I was just in denial, really, and I just kept praying and praying. I just kept saying to his mother, no, there's nothing wrong. And so I believe he was 16 when we finally received the diagnosis that we received. And it was pretty devastating to get the diagnosis. And So he was 16 when we finally got it, and the answer was there is no cure, and it will progress, and he will be in a wheelchair by the time he's 18. And most young people die at the age of 28 of heart failure, and that was it. There's no cure.
Okay. Dr. Bradley, and again, because I've known this story for a while, it was one of the first really impactful things that I was aware of, that our product was potentially doing or having some sort of benefit with. And Dr. Bradley kind of explained the story, but what was the first? It was your son had been on the product of GXL for 2 weeks. Is that right? When you noticed a significant difference?
He had been. He came home a couple of weeks ago and told me, after being on, he'd been on Max GXL for, I guess, a year and a half, and he did see a significant difference.
What period of time was it when in the beginning taking GXL that you started noticing, or he started noticing, an appreciable difference with the symptoms that he had? Do you remember?
Well, Dr. Bradley was the one who noticed it first. When we would come in and see and get checkups, he would notice, first of all, that probably about a month that he was walking straighter down the hall. He was not stumbling and hitting the walls. He noticed that Alex could step up on the step without help first, to get up on the table. He could step up there more easily about after a month.
Okay.
And as the product would get into his system more and more, then his symptoms would go away. And I think the first thing that caught me after he'd been on it was when I saw him in the buffet line and he was able to scoop food. And I remember noting to my husband that I was just amazed that he was able to put the food on his plate and his hand was not shaking.
Now, prior to being on GXL in the beginning, you, again, from Bradley's story to me, you had him on pretty much anything that you could get a hold of that you thought or somebody told you might help him, correct?
Well, Dr. Bradley told us, first of all, when we got the diagnosis, Dr. Bradley didn't take the no cure for an answer. He's an outstanding doctor, and he wanted to do everything he could for Alex. So he immediately started researching the disorder and researching how it affected the body and what could be done, and he researched supplements, and he knew that the only hope for Alex was supplementation and getting rid of free radicals in the body. And so he knew supplements was Alex's only hope. So he just started Alex on a regimen of supplements before Dr. Bradley found, the Max products.
Correct.
By the grace of God. And so that's all we knew. So Alex was taking just hordes and hordes and hordes of vitamins every day.
And wasn't he taking like 16 different antioxidants?
He was. And
Okay.
Alex was just so sick of that. He was just swallowing
And it
pills.
had no effect, difference
It had
whatsoever?
no effect whatsoever on Alex.
Okay.
And he was gagging. He was throwing up the vitamins because he couldn't get them down. And he was rebelling against me because we had fights every day because he was in denial, for one thing. He didn't want to do it. He was just giving up. And so, for one thing, it was a relief to go from having to swallow, 16, 17 pills a day when he didn't think it was working, for one thing.
Correct.
To get to take just the Max products, and just to get to swallow a handful, just a few pills and see results and to feel
Well, and I
better.
would imagine that's the big deal, going through that and then not seeing results versus,
And to feel better.
yeah, without a doubt. And then, so, as we progress, the middle of October is when we, were introduced to Max One
Right.
Through Dr. Nagasawa, which has been a phenomenal product from what we've seen. And I know Alex has been on Max One now for roughly a month. Is that correct? Just kind of explain a little bit, if you will, what effect Max One has had. What are the comments from Alex relative to that product?
He was very excited. Dr. Bradley called, and when Dr. Bradley heard about the products, I guess from convention, he was so excited. He called me on the phone and was just so thrilled, and he told me how wonderful the product was going to be for Alex, and told me how Alex needed to get on it right away, and I ordered it, and I got it shipped to Alex at school, and Alex came home last weekend after being on it for about a month, and he said, "Mom, I cannot believe the difference." He said, "I feel so much better already. I have more energy." He has to take double doses of it because his blood chemistry, he's just so deficient because of the disorder. Just, it takes such a toll on Alex's body. He has to take double than what a normal person has to take. But even when he's tired and exhausted, he, when he's feeling run down from school, he takes an extra one, or if he has a headache, he said he just takes an extra one, and he said within an hour, he can just feel the difference.
Yeah, and I think it's, I think it's good to note, as we're talking here today, what is Alex doing?
He's taking an exam, so he can't be here, a final exam.
Yeah, and basically doing something that, as I understand it, when he was diagnosed with this disorder, was something that he was not supposed to be doing at this point in his life. Is that correct?
He was pretty devastated because he was not sure that he would actually get to go to college and fulfill his goals and his dreams. He wants to be a photographer, and he has a hard time holding his camera steady as
Sure.
he takes photographs, and yeah, he may get to realize his dreams.
Well, that is awesome, and I think that's, again, one of the reasons that I'm grateful to be able to speak to you today about that, because it's just the introduction of our product to one person with another person that finally made its way to your son. And I think, if we can bring awareness of this disorder among many others, and bring relief to a lot of people that need it through our products, I think we can accomplish a lot just, by doing this today. So thank you very much for talking. I know this has been kind of difficult for both of us to do, but thank you.
Thank you.